Hi everybody, thanks for watching, thanks for tuning in to another video. Last video I said we'd be pumping manure in the next video, and that's what we're doing. So the way that we apply manure, it's so they've got a pump here in the pit, and then they pump it through hoses, and they pull the hoses out to the field that they're working on. With depending on how far it is, they'll have pumps in between to boost it, and then on the field they have an applicator that's got a hose on it, and they pull that hose back and forth over the field. So we don't use tanks, which is it's a lot faster, a lot more efficient, and it's less equipment over the road. The only challenge is if you're going further away, it becomes a little bit more difficult because you have to go, through culverts, under roads. Sometimes they have to zigzag back and forth from one side of the road to the other to find culverts to go through to make it to the field. But typically it goes pretty good. The furthest we've pumped from the farm is about 5-6 miles away, but most of the time we're going within 3-4 miles. So it's that makes it it's doable. They're going through a culvert now to get to the field they're on, and then the other field that we have to get to of our neighbors, they'll have to go through one culvert, and then it's pretty much a straight shot to the field. We'll go out to the field and see what they're doing, how they're making out. Now, see the way that applicator works, it's got a straight blade, and then there's a downspout right behind that straight blade. There's a manure hose goes to a downspout, so he's got probably 30 of those across his applicator there, and then there's a manifold in the middle that sends equal amounts of manure to each hose, and then there's a closing wheel behind each disc. Basically each straight disc has its own closing wheel. So you can see here we're putting on about 12,000 gallons of manure per acre, which seems like a lot, but when you spread it out over an acre, you can see a little bit of manure on the top in some spots, but most of it soaks in pretty much right away. Especially, the ground was pretty hard, but now we got a little bit of rain here last weekend or last Friday, and it was not too much, just enough to soften that soil up a little bit and allowing them to make a good slice in the soil, and it's covering up the manure really good here. And you can see he's just dragging that hose, and he'll go back and forth in the field. They'll do 40-acre chunks at a time, and then they'll move their hose and do another 40 acres. So the reason they do that is because the hose becomes too heavy to pull if they're going any longer than that. They have done 80-acre sections at a time, but it looks like they went back to 40-acre pieces here. I think it just makes it a little easier on the tractor to pull that hose around, because once they get to the end there, it does take some power to pull that hose. So like I said, this field's right across the road from the dairy on the west side of the road. So they've got probably about a mile and a half of hose laid out here. I think they use 12-inch hose, and then it goes down to 10-inch, and then the hose that they're dragging around I think might be an 8-inch or a 6-inch, I'm not quite sure. But they pump about, I think they're like 3,500 gallons of manure per minute. And then they've got, so for about every mile they'll set up another pump, just like the one we went by, going by the hose there. I don't know if you can quite see it there. They've got that pump running, and then the one by our manure lagoons that's also running. And they're able to control those pumps right from the tractor. So if he needs to move sections, or if he has an issue or breakdown, whatever it might be, he can shut his pumps off right away, which is kind of nice that he control that from the tractor, because it almost makes it a 1 or 2 man job here. They've got one on the tractor, one by the lagoons that's agitating the lagoons and keeping an eye on the pump there, and then the second guy will go around with the tractor and help move the hose if it's in his way. So that seems to work pretty good. So we're in part of the field here that's been they did this last week before they left, so you can tell that they get that manure incorporated pretty good, which is what we want, because the more you can get it incorporated, the better your nitrogen will stay in the soil. Like I said, we put 12,000 gallons per acre on here, and the reason we're doing that is we take soil samples of the fields that we're going to put manure on, and then we'll also take nutrient analysis of what's in the manure. So we use those two figures to figure out, okay, we need to put so many gallons of manure on this field when we're going to corn next year, because we know if we're growing corn, it's going to require so much amount of nitrogen, so much amount of potassium and phosphorus, and that's how we decide, okay, we need to put this rate of manure on this field. It's Wednesday here today. They finished the last field of our neighbors that we wanted to do this fall. Now they're back on the field of our own. We've got about 50 acres left, and I think it's going to be close to whether we have enough manure to finish this fall or not. If they don't, it's fine. We'll start here next spring if they run out of manure. And if we do have enough, then it'll be one field less that we have to go to next spring, I guess. So we like to do the fields of our neighbors and the fields furthest away in the fall, because then we don't have to fool around with pulling the hose through culverts if they've got ice in them or if they're full of water. And then we like to leave our own fields until the spring, because we're not in a, then we don't have to hold our neighbors up with planting corn, and if we have to wait a little longer, that's not the end of the world. So we use Manure as fertilizer. It's the manure from the cows, basically, we use to grow feed for the cows the next year. So we've got liquid manure, we also have solid manure. The solid manure is not as high in nutrients typically. This liquid manure has got more nitrogen in it than the solid manure does, so we'll typically put some solid manure on all of our land too every year, or we'll put that on our neighbors' fields around the farm also. But we really like the manure. It's an organic fertilizer, saves us money on not having to buy commercial fertilizer to grow our corn, And it's also got some benefit to the ground, so we're adding organic matter to the soil, and that has a few benefits. And among those is that it allows our soil to hold more water, and it also allows it to take in water better, so it won't stay wet as long. And it allows our soil to hold more nutrients. The higher the organic matter is, and the better the water holding capacity is, the more nutrients our soil can hold, so we don't have to worry about nutrients leaching away. And we know that the manure we're putting down here, the nutrients that we're putting down are going to be here and available for the crop next year. It takes a long time to alter the composition of your soil, but I think in the last 10 years we've been here, we've seen some improvements already. I think our corn silage crop this year definitely kind of shows that, because I don't think we would have had as good of corn had we not been putting manure on our fields the last 10 years. It really shows when you're in stressed situations that I think it does make a big difference. Well, they just finished pumping manure here. They're just starting to clean up, roll up their hose, clean their stuff up, and then they head to the next job. Really taking advantage of the nice weather here. Hopefully we continue to have some more nice weather this fall. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Maybe we'll see you in the next one. Bye.